Hello students, welcome to this series of videos about the cell. So to begin with, let us see how the cell was discovered. Now the concept of the cell was put forward first by Aristotle way back in 384 to 322 BC. However, the term cell was introduced by an English botanist, Robert Hooke, who observed cells for the first time in 1665. He developed a simple microscope under which he examined a thin slice of cork. In 1674, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, a Dutch cloth merchant and a microscopist by hobby, he designed an improved microscope. He was the first one who observed live cells, bacteria and protozoans in rainwater. He named them as animalcules. The first operational compound microscope was constructed by Zacharias Janssen and Hans Lippershey in the 1590s. Later, they designed an improved version of this microscope. So let us go through the different parts of a compound microscope. We have an ocular lens, also called eyepiece, which forms the erect image of the object and further enlarges it by 10 times or 15 times. It is inserted on the body tube. There is a revolving nose piece where different objective lenses can be fixed. An objective lens forms the initial inverted image of the object and enlarges it. Objective lenses are available in different resolutions like 10x, 40x, 100x and many more. The stage clips hold the slide firmly on the stage. A condenser lens focuses the rays of the light on the object. It is fixed just below the stage. The light source provides sufficient adjustable light to be focused on the slide. The base gives horizontal support to the microscope on a surface. The coarse adjustment knobs are used for rapid and precise focusing on the object. The fine adjustment knobs help to get a sharp and clear image of the object. The stage provides supporting surface where glass slide is kept under the objective lens and allows light to pass from the condenser lens below it. The arm forms the vertical supporting structure of the microscope. So these are the main parts of a compound microscope. In the year 1931, a German physicist named Ernest Ruska and an electrical engineer named Max Knoll designed an electron microscope which used a beam of electrons and could magnify an object to over 2 lakh times. Hence, it became easier and possible to observe and understand the ultrastructure of cells and cell organelles. Welcome to this quick video session about cell theory. The formulation of cell theory was a major breakthrough in cell biology. It was proposed independently by German botanist Matthias Jakob Schleiden in 1838 and German zoologist Theodor Schwann in 1839. Initially, they proposed that all plants and animals are composed of cells which serve as the basic structural and functional units of life. The cell theory was further modified by another German biologist named R. Virchow in 1855. Let us go through the main postulates of complete cell theory. Firstly, all living organisms are made up of cells, the smallest unit of life. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all organisms. Cells are the physiological and organizational units of all living organisms, as all the metabolic activities of organisms are performed within the cells. Cells are the hereditary units and maintain continuity of life through the hereditary material in them. New cells arise only from the pre-existing cells. So the cell theory comprises of all these 5 main postulates. Welcome to this video session about diverse kinds of cells. We already know that a large variety of living organisms are made up of cells which may vary in size, shape and number. Based on cell number, the organisms are of two types. Organisms made up of only one cell which performs all the functions of the body are called unicellular organisms. For example, bacteria, amoeba, paramecium and many more. Organisms made up of a large number of cells are called multicellular organisms. Different cells become specialized to perform different functions. For example, plants, animals, humans and all higher organisms. Based on cell size, organisms show much diversity. Mycoplasma are the smallest cells measuring 0.1 micrometer. Red blood cells of human body have a size of around 7 micrometers. Nerve cells are long, ranging from a few centimeters to a meter. Largest animal cell is an ostrich egg, measuring about 170 millimeters in diameter. Human egg cell is only 0.1 millimeter in diameter. Muscle cells in animals and plant fibers are few centimeters long. Cell of a unicellular alga, Acetabularia, is about 10 centimeters long. However, size of the cell is not related to the size of the organism. The shape of different cells is variable. It is generally round, spherical or rectangular. The shape of the cell is often related to the function performed. Amoeba and white blood cells have an irregular shape which keeps on changing to capture food or during locomotion. Nerve cells are long and branched for quick transmission of messages. Muscle cells are spindle-shaped and thin, which enables them to expand and contract easily. Skin cells are flat and long to cover larger surface and protect inner parts. Some internal organs have columnar cells which increase surface area for secretion, absorption and storage of food. Red blood cells are circular and biconcave, which allows them to carry maximum oxygen. Guard cells of stomata in the leaves are bean-shaped to facilitate opening and closing of the pore. Welcome to this video session about cell structure. Each cell is equipped with certain components which are responsible for the specific functions carried out by a cell. Each cell consists of three essential parts: cell membrane or plasma membrane, nucleus, and cytoplasm. Let us now understand each part in detail. Each cell is surrounded by a thin living covering called plasma membrane or cell membrane. It is present in all the cells and is composed of lipids and proteins. It separates cell contents from the external medium and helps in maintaining the internal environment of the cell. Plasma membrane has fine pores which are selectively permeable. That is, it allows only certain molecules to pass through it. In plant cells, a rigid covering known as cell wall is present outside the plasma membrane. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. It is freely permeable to various substances. Nucleus is the prominent and most important part of the cell. It is covered by a double-layered membrane called nuclear envelope, which separates the nuclear contents from the cytoplasm. It is perforated by many small pores called nucleopores, which allow selective transfer of substances. The nucleus is filled with a transparent granular liquid matrix called nucleoplasm. It contains nuclear components such as nucleolus and chromatin material. The nucleolus is a spherical body which acts as the site for the synthesis of ribosomes, which in turn help in protein synthesis. The nucleoplasm of the nucleus contains the chromatin material. It consists of thin thread-like filaments which are composed of DNA, the genetic material. The nucleus is the controlling center of the cell. It regulates the enzyme synthesis and controls all the metabolic activities of the cell. Cytoplasm is the semi-fluid content of the cell present between the plasma membrane and the nuclear membrane. It is jelly-like, consisting of water, various inorganic substances and organic molecules. Many chemical reactions take place in the cytoplasm. It also contains many specialized cell organelles, each of which carries out a particular function. We will take you through a journey of various cell organelles in the next video. Welcome to this video session about cell organelles and their functions. In the previous video, we have learnt that cell organelles are present in the cytoplasm and carry out specific functions. Let us begin with endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is a network of double membranes found scattered in the cytoplasm. These membranes are continuous with the nuclear membrane on the inner side and connected with the plasma membrane on the other side. The endoplasmic reticulum provides mechanical support to the cytoplasm. The endoplasmic reticulum is of two types. Rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes attached to its surface. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is devoid of ribosomes on its surface. It serves as a channel for the transport of material from one part of the cell to another. The rough endoplasmic reticulum facilitates protein synthesis, while smooth endoplasmic reticulum helps in lipid synthesis and various other biochemical reactions. The next prominent organelles are ribosomes. Ribosomes are the smallest organelles of the cell. They are either attached to the outer membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum or present in the cytoplasm as independent or free ribosomes. They contain high RNA content and many proteins. Ribosomes are of two types, 70S, which are found in prokaryotes, and 80S, which are found in eukaryotes. They are the centers of protein synthesis, hence they are called protein factories of the cell. They provide sites for the attachment of RNA molecules involved in protein synthesis. The next prominent organelle is the Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus was first observed by Camillo Golgi in the year 1898 while studying nerve cells of barn owl. It occurs in the form of granules, rods, or filaments and arises from the membranes of endoplasmic reticulum. It consists of a set of smooth flattened cisternae stacked one above the other in parallel rows. It is associated with some minute vesicles and vacuoles which bud off from cisternae. In plant cells, the Golgi apparatus is known as dictyosome. The Golgi apparatus is associated with the secretions of cell such as enzymes and hormones. It modifies, concentrates and packs the substances synthesized by the endoplasmic reticulum and directs them to the required destinations. It is also known as the traffic police of the cell. The next prominent organelle is lysosome. Lysosomes were first discovered in 1955 by Christian de Douw in the liver cells. They are bag-like cell organelles bound by a single membrane. They are present in abundance in each cell and contain digestive or tissue-dissolving enzymes. Lysosomes destroy and digest any foreign material such as bacteria present inside the cell. Hence, they are also known as demolition squads or housekeepers. They also break down worn out and poorly working organelles and digest them. Hence, they are the waste or garbage disposal system of the cell. They are also referred to as digestive bags because their enzymes help in the digestion of stored food. Lysosomes also digest their own cells when the cells are diseased or damaged with poor oxygen supply or improper metabolism. Thus, they are also called suicidal bags of the cell. The next prominent organelles are mitochondria. The mitochondria are rod-shaped organelles present in the cytoplasm of a cell. They are bordered by a double membrane and have their own DNA and ribosomes. The outer membrane is porous and smooth, while the inner one is folded into finger-like projections known as cristae. They are commonly known as the powerhouse of the cell because they provide energy required for various cellular activities. They contain enzymes for cellular respiration which convert the stored energy of food into usable energy. This usable energy is stored as ATP molecules, which are known as the energy currency of the cell. Mitochondria are also regarded as biochemical machines of the cell because they help in various metabolic activities of the cell. The next prominent organelle is the centrosome. The term centrosome was introduced by T. Boveri in 1888. It is a minute body present close to the nucleus of animal cells and in some lower plants. It is a specialized zone of cytoplasm containing two central granules called centrioles. Centrioles are short bundles of microfilaments arranged at right angles to each other. They initiate and help in cell division in animal cells. During nuclear division, the centrioles move towards opposite ends of the cell and spindle fibers develop from them. The next group of prominent organelles are present only in plant cells. They are plastids. The term plastid was introduced by Ernest Haeckel. They are small disc-shaped or spherical bodies found scattered in all plant cells and in some protista. They are absent in animal cells, fungi, bacteria, and blue-green algae. Plastids are double-walled and have their own DNA and ribosomes. Depending on their color, plastids are of three types. Leucoplasts are devoid of any pigment and they are colorless. They store certain materials. Starch-storing leucoplasts are called amyloplasts, and those which store fats are known as elaioplasts. Some of them also store protein granules. They are commonly found in the storage cells of roots and underground stems, such as potato. Chromoplasts are colored plastids, the color varying from yellow to orange-red. They contain certain pigments like xanthophyll, which is yellow in color, and carotene, which is orange-red in color. Chromoplasts impart color to the petals of flowers, hence the insects are attracted to these flowers for pollination. They also provide different colors to fruits, which are formed as a result of combination of yellow, red, and orange colors. The most prominent organelles in the category of plastids are chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are green-colored, which is due to the presence of a green pigment called chlorophyll. They also contain xanthophyll and carotene, but in minor amounts. These pigments remain hidden because of large quantity of chlorophyll. Chloroplasts are found abundantly in green leaves and in other green parts of the plant. They are necessary for carrying out photosynthesis. They also contain their own DNA and can divide on their own. The last but not the least important cell organelles are vacuoles. The vacuole is a single membrane-bound space found in the cytoplasm. It is a kind of storage sac which is filled with water and semi-solid or liquid substance. In animal cells, the vacuoles are small-sized and few in number. In plant cells, a single prominent vacuole occupies about 90% of the cell volume. It is filled with a liquid called cell sap. Because of its large size and central position, the nucleus and other cell organelles in a plant cell are pushed towards the periphery. Vacuoles provide turgidity and rigidity to the plant cell. They provide space for the storage of water-soluble compounds like sugar and minerals. Welcome to this video session where we will learn about the differences between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. The prokaryotic cell is generally small in size, whereas the eukaryotic cell is larger in size. In a prokaryotic cell, the nucleus is not surrounded by a nuclear membrane, whereas the nucleus is bound by a nuclear membrane in eukaryotic cells. The nuclear material consists of a single chromosome which is present in the nucleoid of prokaryotic cells, whereas the nucleus contains more than one chromosomes in a eukaryotic cell. The nucleolus is absent in prokaryotic cells, whereas the nucleolus is present in eukaryotic cells. In prokaryotic cells, the cell organelles are not bound by a membrane, whereas in eukaryotic cells, all cell organelles are membrane bound. Examples of organisms consisting of a prokaryotic cell are bacteria, cyanobacteria, and a few more, whereas a few unicellular and majority of multicellular plants and animals are made up of eukaryotic cells. The organisms comprising prokaryotic cells are called prokaryotes, whereas the organisms comprising eukaryotic cells are called eukaryotes. Let us have an on-screen summary of the differences between prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. Welcome to this video session where you'll learn the differences between plant and animal cells. Plant cells are comparatively larger in size, whereas animal cells are comparatively smaller. A thick cell wall made up of cellulose is present around the thin plasma membrane in plant cells, whereas in animal cells the cell wall is absent. Plastids are present in plant cells, whereas plastids are completely absent in animal cells. In plant cells, cytoplasm is less dense and less granular. In animal cells, the cytoplasm is denser and more granular. A single large vacuole is present in plant cells, whereas animal cells contain vacuoles that are small and many. In plant cells, cytoplasm is pushed to the periphery by the vacuole. In animal cells, the cytoplasm is present throughout the cell. Centrosome is usually absent in plant cells, whereas centrosome is present in animal cells. Golgi apparatus is present in the form of scattered dictyosomes in plant cells, whereas animal cells have a prominent and highly complex Golgi apparatus near the nucleus. Let us have an on-screen summary of all the differences between plant cell and animal cell. Stay tuned for all upcoming biology videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get all our future notifications of videos.